Hi, Steve Shepard with Connecticut Real Estate. Welcome to Optimum Leadership Television. We have a treat tonight, Rob Gerowe. He's a specialist in nonprofit fundraising. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We met each other in high school. We ran track together and stuff. Where'd you go from there?
So from there, I went to University of Oregon and ran cross country and track there and studied journalism and marketing. Great experience. I was a first generation college student, so I basically went out there, got residency, got a job, and went to school full time as a student athlete. And it was a great experience. Beautiful country out that way, and it had a great track program, a great journalism school. So no regrets. My family was a little nervous about it, being so far away and stuff. But I think my dad told my mom, maybe it's good that Rob is out there. We won't worry about him when he's coming home late and everything.
Nice.
But I was so busy between working full time, going to school full time, and sports that I had very little time to get into trouble. So
Good. I remember you from high school. You really weren't the troublemaker type.
Yeah.
You were a good man, which is why you're here. So you went to Oregon. They had a great program there. I bet that had a long-term effect on you in terms of people that you met. How did that help you? How did that lead you down the path of success and leadership?
Well, I think one of the greatest things about any leader is that they're a good listener and that they're somebody who really is a team player. And that's how my leadership style has always been a team player, being part of the team. And so I think being part of a sports team, you get that concept that that not any one person is more important than the other person, that you're all important. And of course, going to University of Oregon, where some of my teammates were some of the greatest runners in the world, were Olympians. It kept me very humble because no matter how good I got, there was always someone better, and so that was, I think, a good experience to have, and taught me a lot about that. Those kind of skills you can bring into your career or your parenting and just, being a volunteer in the future. You learn those skills of how to get along with people, and people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So I think those experiences were really helpful in my future.
Fantastic. So Brookfield, you went to Oregon, you got a good background, good education. What was your first job?
I started, I was working full-time when I was in school, and so I did have some jobs as a reporter and doing editing, which was great. But when I graduated from college, luckily I had some grants and scholarships, and I worked full-time, so I didn't have a lot of debt. But when I found out how much you can make, in journalism as a reporter, you work 80, 90 hours a week, and it wasn't a lot of money. Right. And so I decided to use some of my other skills that I learned at college and through the jobs I had to do more public relations and marketing in that aspect. And so I was able to make a little bit more money doing that, and got into working in a big direct marketing firm that was first in Ridgefield, then moved to Bethel. It was a fast growing company, very young company, everybody, a couple hundred people, almost all of them under 30. So it was kind of fun. It's where I met my wife. Met Heather there.
It's important.
And so with that, I started working with a lot of clients in the areas that I was interested in, working with people, magazines, sports catalogs, U.S. Olympic Committee. And then I also worked with a lot of nonprofits just because I wanted to help the nonprofits to be more successful. And so that's what I started doing, and very much enjoyed that. And then I was doing some volunteer work as well for one of my nonprofit clients, and through that they offered me a job to grow their team and training program for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which I was already very invested and involved in. And so that's how I got into the nonprofit world and being a frontline fundraiser. I don't think anybody, at least from my generation, went to school or has set a goal to become a frontline fundraiser or someone not working in nonprofits. I think most people you would talk to kind of get in there through some other way.
Yeah. But I think it's very common for people to go to school for one thing and then end up flipping, somewhere else. Like my father, he went to college, Iona College, and he was a history major. And his big job was being a purchasing manager. So like direct connection, not really, but you know the piece of paper is there to show that you're gonna get up every morning, you're gonna come to work because you got up every day, you went to school,
Right.
you followed the path.
Yeah, you
And
have
I
good
think
work
that's what-
ethics.
right,
Yeah.
and I think that's what people are looking for when they're looking to hire people and shape leaders.
I think so, and and from my athletic background, I was more a middle distance and distance guy. So the endurance it takes to do that, you have that, you can stick with things, and so I think that kind of comes over to your career too, where you realize there's going to be bad days,
Right.
and there's going to be good days, and you get through it and you do what needs to be done, and so that's how you grow and learn. So.
Okay, so let's jump all the way forward because you're currently working at the University of Bridgeport, and I
Yeah.
want to talk a lot about what you're doing now, and then we'll kind of go back and
Sure.
fill in the blanks.
That sounds great.
So University of Bridgeport, they called and they said what?
University of Bridgeport. I actually was born in Bridgeport, as my brother and sister were, and my mom was born there. And on my mom's side of the family is the Sealeys, the Spencer rifle family, the first repeating rifle, the Spencers on her side of the family, and also P.T. Barnum. And so a lot of that land that UB sits on was donated in the Seaside Park by the Sealeys and P.T. Barnum, which is kind of neat. And my mom did get a certification. She didn't get a college degree, but she got a certification at the University of Bridgeport way back in the 50s. And so having that connection of being born in Bridgeport, a very diverse community. It was a bopping city when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s. Manufacturing was going strong still. It was before the people started offshoring.
Right.
And so it was a really fun city. So I wanted to come back to UB to help not just the University of Bridgeport, which we're coming up on our 100th anniversary in 2027, but I wanted to also help the city of Bridgeport and the surrounding communities to be like what it was, back in the 60s and 70s, and after World War II. It was a great city, and so that's my goal, is to help revive the city, and it's starting to happen. I mean, University of Bridgeport, despite our struggles over the years, like any university, we're thriving now. We have enrollments up for the third year in a row. We are building new buildings, new facilities, adding sports we're a Division II school, and we have a strong engineering school, the world's first ever dental hygiene school. We have a great nursing program and a business school. And so my job as a development officer is to actually help grow the university, work with alumni and friends of UB to build new buildings and to help get scholarships for more students. We have a very diverse community. A lot of first-generation college students come to UB, which I can sympathize with because I know that struggle, because I was a first-generation college grad that worked full-time. And a lot of our students work full-time. Some of them have kids. Some of them are single parents, and they're still trying to get their degree. And so I try to help them by getting scholarships for them so that they can complete their school and get that dream job that they want to have. So.
Does Bridgeport do any work with the trades? Do you have any educational?
Yeah, this is a great question, because we actually did recently started with one of our partner universities, is Goodwin University in Hartford, and they had a manufacturing center. And so when I saw how fabulous their manufacturing center is, my grandfather was in manufacturing, and it was a kind of dirty, dungy basement kind of building, and he made really cool stuff, and I remember being really impressed by it. He could fix anything, right? But now manufacturing, there's CNC machines, there's still welding and some of the traditional arts, which there's a great need in our country for people with those skills. And so when I saw the great stuff they were doing up at Goodwin, I wanted to help get a manufacturing center like that in Bridgeport too, because there's a lot of people who could use those jobs. So one of our very generous and wonderful donors, I met with him, and the great thing about this donor is he basically asks you questions, and then he says, how can I help? And so I told him about wanting to have a manufacturing center in Bridgeport where people can get certified very quickly within a year or less to be welders or work on CNC machines, and they can get great jobs at Sikorsky, at Electric Boat. And now Bridgeport has we just got a $47 million grant a company did to move a factory making batteries for electric vehicles and storage units. And so now we have these job opportunities for our students. So, but this donor also donated more money to just provide scholarships for these people to get their certification. And they actually get credit towards UB. So if they decide to get an engineering degree or a business degree, they can do that. They're getting credit. But if they decide,
Fantastic.
with my certification, I can get a really good paying job, you know,
Those are important.
they may just do that and not go to college
So
for the
did
4
you
years.
say that you're merging with Goodwin? or-
Goodwin is Goodwin kind of
So-
partnered with us during that COVID. A lot of schools were struggling, and Bridgeport was struggling, and so they actually bought us out. But they're actually, the great thing is about it is a lot of schools, when they get bought out, they become, you know, it would become like Goodwin University Bridgeport.
Right.
And that's happening all around the country. But the great thing with them is they saw that Bridgeport had this 100-year history, rich history, Division II schools, and their university, they don't have sports.
Right.
And so they thought, we want to keep University of Bridgeport and the Purple Knights exactly what they've been, you know, for this
Right.
100 years. And we just want to help make it thrive, and not just survive, but to thrive. And so that's what they've done. So we actually have our own board of trustees. We have our own faculty, staff. We share certain vendors and things like that when it makes sense, you know, to be frugal. But we're an independent university, and NETCHI approved. And so it's really great that they did that. It's a great model. And so now both, we're a feeder school for students in the Hartford area that want to go to Goodwin for certain programs they have. And then they're a feeder school for sending people to UB to get, you know, because we offer not just undergrad, but we also offer graduate master's degrees. So it's really been a great relationship with
Okay.
Goodwin. Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Goodwin, have they been more based in construction education?
A lot
Or
of the
am I-
technical schools, and then and then LPN,
Like
nursing, and-
Auto and
Yeah,
and-
yep, some of
and
the auto stuff.
electricians and HVAC. I think.
exactly. Yeah, so they had a
Okay.
lot of that, and now University of Bridgeport has some of that as well too. But what they thought was great about the partnership is now they have a place where their students and their alumni can go to get more advanced degrees if they want.
Right.
So it's really been a win-win for both universities and both communities of the greater Hartford area as well as the greater Bridgeport area.
I've been noticing, so my background is in construction and real estate,
Yeah.
40 years. But you look at the workforce and you look at the inventory that's out there, and the bottom line is there's not enough houses out there. And the reality is people my age, because I was the young guy back when the market was pretty, big with construction, but now I'm approaching, the old guy. And what I'm seeing is that there's just not a lot of people out there with the ability and the education and the desire to get into the construction trade.
Into trades, yeah.
Which on a flip side makes it a really great decision for a young person, because your job, my job, everybody's job, can it get shipped off to China and done for less? But are you going to go in and rewire that person's house by
Right.
calling 1-800-CHINA?
And
Not
the
so
thing too
much.
is offshoring stuff, may work with some business models, but the thing is, there's a lot of those skilled jobs, like you said, electricians, but also welding and CNC machines. It's better to produce it here, because if something's done wrong, you can quickly fix it and repair it and redo it to make it work.
Right.
Whereas if you have to wait for going to overseas or to some other country, it's going to take forever. It's going to slow up whatever project you're working on.
And you're really not going to pack up your living room and send it to China. And
Exactly, yeah.
Could you repaint it? Could you
Yeah.
rewire it? Could
Yeah.
you replumb the wet bar? It's not
Yeah.
happening.
And I think it's exciting now to see that some cities like Bridgeport that had struggled in the past are now building again. They're building a whole new facility of new homes and condos. Bridgeport recently got ranked on, it was on national news, where they were ranked as one of the top 4 cities, like emerging cities, to move to, where business is starting to grow, housing is affordable. There's also, you're close to New York City. We have the University of Bridgeport, we have the ferry comes in close to, I can hear the ferry from my office. We have the ferry, we have the Metro North, we have I-95, Route 8, 91
That's
corridors.
the ferry to Long Island?
Yeah,
Port
yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, so we're close to everything. We're
I've
close
taken that ride a couple of times, and I just totally enjoyed it. Just
Yeah.
be able to get on the boat, go over, experience that, get to Port Jeff. hit a few restaurants,
Right.
jump back on the boat.
It's quite
Very
the,
enjoyable.
It's quite the hub, you know, the city of Bridgeport, and University of Bridgeport's right there on the water. It's a beautiful campus on Seaside Park. So I'm always, when I have people, alumni, but especially when I have just friends of UB or local businesses and companies that are working with UB now, when they come to campus and I give them a tour, like they're like in shock. It's really a hidden gem. You know, they don't realize that it's the water's right there. There's
Yeah.
a beautiful beach. You know, Perry's Arch and Seaside Park is beautiful, and there's a lot of really great history in all of Connecticut, but in particular in the Bridgeport area. So, hopefully things will get back,
Yeah.
and real estate
As a
will
real estate
recover.
broker, I have to say
Yeah.
it's been really nice watching the evolution of pretty much all the Connecticut cities. Like when we were in high school, Connecticut cities were
Starting to
really
fade.
not doing so well.
Yeah,
you
people,
know,
not just overseas, but a lot of companies like UPS and stuff, they were moving south.
yeah, like
you know?
the Seth Thomas Clock Factory in Thomaston. They were fantastic, and they literally built the entire town of Thomaston. And once you got into the '60s, they were done.
Yeah.
They couldn't compete. So competition. Tell us a little about your week. You're a leader of fundraising
Mhm.
at the University of Bridgeport. Tell us about your week, your interactions. What makes you the successful person you are?
I think basically is that I'm part of a real successful team. I have a really great team of fellow colleagues at the University of Bridgeport, not even just my immediate team of the advancement and alumni relations, but the faculty, the deans, the President Daniel Wilkin. They're fantastic, and they're people who like great ideas, and anyone, students, undergrads, graduate students, other staff and faculty can go to the president and to our board of trustees with a good idea for the university or for the surrounding community, sort of like a Shark Tank, right?
Right.
And they can go to them and propose an idea, and just the very fact that they can do that and have access to the decision makers and leaders is amazing in itself. But some of our best ideas have come from the bottom up and from other people who work at university, or even from students. We have one graduate student who just started his own coffee company where the coffee is grown in Guatemala, and he works with farmers there, and basically it's called Purple Night Coffee because we're the University of Bridgeport Purple
Nice.
Nights, and it's doing
Do
really
you
well.
serve Purple Night coffee?
We do have it on
Okay.
campus, yeah. And
check.
we're even thinking about renovating the old P.T. Barnum stable house into being like a coffee shop, like place where we have musicians and stuff
Yeah,
there.
I
And
mean,
I got that
P.T.
idea.
Barnum, you got to have some entertainment to
Yeah.
get that coffee.
Well, and I got the idea from some alumni that were visiting campus. A big group of sorority women that graduated in the 60s and 70s came to visit campus. I was giving a tour, and they told me about, I was telling, because I'm a big history buff, so I'm telling about, that was P.T. Barnum's stable, and now we're kind of using it as storage. And they said, well, when we were here, the president let us fix up the area, and we had a stage in there, and we actually had entertainment, people playing guitar and singing, and people used to come from far away to see the entertainment, and it was really cool. And I was like, that's brilliant. And so now I envision that, having Purple Night Coffee there, being a coffee house, and having musicians come there. So that's one of the projects I'm trying to work on now, amongst several other projects we have. We just opened a new esports center, which is part of our business school has a sports management program, and so esports are big now, right? Where they're competitive. So we have a Division II esports team at the university, just like any other sports like football or track and field.
Right.
And then we have a program in sports management on esports and creating, games, online games, and so forth. And so that's kind of exciting, and it's a beautiful facility. So if you get a chance to come down and visit me, I'll give you a tour.
That does sound exciting.
Yeah, and
I
if
think
any
my-
viewers are watching, just reach out to me, and I will give you a tour of campus and some of these new things that are happening there.
That's definitely up and coming
Yeah.
trend. I mean,
And that's the key.
We used to sit in the basement and play Pong, but
Yes.
I gotta be honest, like
Pac-Man.
playing Pac-Man or Pong for like more than 30 minutes or an hour,
Yeah.
it was boring. But
But you have to keep up
watch
with the
my
times.
kids grow up, and they'd be playing this one. They're killing people, and I bought them Guitar Hero, and then I created a Guitar Hero competition at the local pub, and
There you go.
just get them into the next thing. could you guys be happy could you, a little more fun and happy, less dying
Yeah.
is good. So the sport's very good.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about teams, and I think some people will walk into a room and go, oh, this place sucks, this team sucks, oh, me and my, but it's all about training your team, right?
Right.
Because not everyone's going to run in to take over for Vince Lombardi, right? Like, okay, that guy had a fairly easy job because the team ship has been molded already.
Right.
So what do you do for team building?
So
What does Bridgeport do for team
yeah,
building?
so for team building is definitely important to be part of any team, but I think it's transparency, the freedom and comfort to be open and honest, to share your feelings and your ideas. That's a big part of having a successful team, and I think also having great alumni and donors that support us, and a great board of trustees at the university that support us and our ideas, because they've seen the success we had, so they want to give us more tools and resources to keep doing what we're doing.
Right.
And I think really it's just being a good listener. That's what I learned. I learned it a little bit when I was a reporter, because you have to listen to people and when you're interviewing them and so forth. But I think I really started to learn that later in life through my work experiences, and my wife is a great listener. And I learned that sometimes you just need to listen, because you'll learn more about somebody and come up with better solutions by listening more. The old saying that you've got 2 ears but only one mouth, right?
Absolutely.
So listening's important. So I'd be honest, that wasn't the easiest thing for me, because I'm a storyteller and I love to talk, and you know that from even my high school years, and I have a goofy sense of humor, but which is all good. But I've really learned as I've gotten older, it's really important to listen to other people, because they often come up with the best ideas. So that's my style of leadership, and I think the rest of my team, we're all like that. And I think we're all, the other key is just being passionate about what you're doing, right? If you're selling something, whether it's a university, or a nonprofit organization for a good cause or a charity, you got to really believe in it, right?
Absolutely.
If you're selling Fords, but you're driving a Maserati yourself, to me it's a tougher sell.
Much.
At the University of Bridgeport, almost my whole time, I'm the only deadbeat there that didn't graduate from UB, although my mom did get a certification there, and I was born in Bridgeport. But the rest of my staff, a lot of them graduated from UB, and some of them have been teachers or adjunct teachers, professors at the university. I've played sports there. And then even myself, I was born and raised in Bridgeport. So all of us on our team, we're passionate about UB and about our students, and about just the whole surrounding community too. And I think that helps when you have a team that's passionate about what you're doing.
Passion is definitely the key.
Yeah.
That's the excitement. That's the spark that keeps everybody moving forward. Totally a fan of your concept of listening being important. You'll find that, hey, I'm the guy running Optimum Leadership Television. I talk very little and I listen a lot, because I'm here to learn. I'm here to help others learn
Right.
about leadership tools. So we're probably getting close, but let's talk about some of the other places that you've worked. I want to give a little breadth of your experience. So I think before Bridgeport, you were at the Overseas Ministries. Give us a short
Sure.
leadership story.
Yeah, Overseas Ministry.
Something that you overcame or helped achieve there.
So Overseas Ministry Study Center has been around for 100 years as well. They just had their 100th anniversary, and they originally started in New Jersey, and then they moved in the 80s up to across the street from Yale University. And great organization. When I was there, I helped with the executive director to raise awareness and to raise money and funds for OMSC, to offer primarily scholarships for folks to come to learn and have sabbaticals with us. Artists, community leaders, pastors, to get a break from their ministries or their community service and work they did in countries all over the world, 100 different nations. And so the reason I left them and came to UB is, one, I was excited about the opportunity with UB, but also I helped get OMSC back to New Jersey to be a part of the Princeton campus. It was a really great move for them and kind of going back to their roots. But I didn't really want to commute back and forth to New Jersey, so I'm a Connecticut guy. So, but my wife and I are still donors to OMSC, and it's a great organization. But I say one of my, so many great stories, because I met people from all over the world when I was working at OMSC, great people and talented people. And I got to say, one of the greatest things was, just by chance, there was this one community leader from Nigeria, and he came over, and he had a serious accident when he was a young kid, and he lost one of his legs in a motorcycle accident. And he was working in the bush and out in the boonies of Nigeria with communities, and he had this false leg that was basically from like when we were kids, like in the 60s and 70s. Right. And it was this big heavy wooden thing. It was always causing him pain. And so I had some tools like in my office, so sometimes we'd come by and I'm like, let's see if we can adjust it, and we'd be adjusting his leg and stuff like that, and we'd be making some kind of jokes that like normally wouldn't seem funny, but him and I had a great rapport and had a good sense of humor, and we were taking it with stride, no pun intended. And I was talking to him, and I'm like, John, we have to get you like there's these new high-tech legs and things out there. Like, this is ridiculous that you have this big, heavy, cumbersome thing, and it's painful. It's causing you pain. And he's like, yeah, well, I have no money for that. I put all my money into my community work and that kind of stuff. And I said, well, that makes me want to even get you a better leg even more. So I did a lot of research, and I was coming up with a lot of struggles, even with my network and all the people I knew. A lot of the nonprofits I knew, they would have fund things like this if you were a veteran, or if you worked, as an EMT or a police officer, and but he was from Nigeria. He was international, so none of those organizations would help support him, so I could get him a new leg. So my wife just happened to be looking through the internet.
Just going to say quick, we have about 2.5 minutes.
So she was looking, through the internet, and found this organization, a new organization that worked with a company in India. And so I was able to get John to fly to India, and they custom fit a new leg for him with very technological innovation, a new knee and ankles. It works like a real leg. It's amazing. It was actually designed in Stanford, University of Stanford out in California. And so he went to India. They flew him out there, gave him a new leg. I pick him up at the airport. He's got his new leg, and he's walking for the first time without a cane, like we would walk, not limping.
How old was he?
Since he was 15,
wow.
16. So I'm like practically crying just seeing him walk and come back. He's got a big grin on his face as I'm picking him up at JFK, and he's carrying a leg with him, like all wrapped up in a package. And I'm like, John, I thought you would like burn that leg in Nigeria. So you're not bringing that old leg, that heavy thing back. He goes, no, Rob. He goes, I told them about where I work, and they were concerned that if somehow the new leg broke, they wanted me to have a spare. These legs cost $40,000 each. They gave him two in case he had problems when he was doing his workout.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So to me, it's those little things that make a bigger difference than even some of the other bigger $1 million donations I've been able to raise. Those are all important and good, but sometimes it's those little things where you see you're helping one person.
Is that the story that's going to make you cry?
Yeah.
You asked if I was going to make you cry.
It could, yeah. But yeah, so that's my whole thing is to people is everybody can be great. Martin Luther King said everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And so I think I would tell listeners to get involved, to be a volunteer, whether it's with your university or a community organization. Get involved, and your skills will help.
Very well said. Thank you so much for joining us, Rob.
You're
Optimum
welcome.
Leadership Television. Thank you all.